Shalom, brothers and sisters. Last night, I had a dream. What my dream was about, it was me and my wife and some family members. I was sitting on the floor. It was like maybe 6 family members sitting on 2 different couches. And I had another family member by the sink washing dishes. I believe they was washing dishes, and I was telling them the truth about the scriptures and everything about the Most High name and stuff like that. And I noticed that some of my family members would roll their eyes, or they were turn their lips to the side like whatever. And then I addressed the situation, and I pointed out to each family member that I knew that they were shunning me for the facial expressions, for the certain facial expression, and each one had a different facial expression. One would, pierce their lips, one would roll their eyes, or things like that. And then the one family member that was over at the sink washing dishes started going off on me, saying things such as, "We ain't trying to hear that," and you know how it is when you're trying to tell the truth to people and to your family. But then I end up getting a little upset, and I end up telling them that y'all worship false deities. Y'all don't worship the creator that's in the Bible. Y'all worship God, which is a deity in itself. Y'all also worship Baal because y'all say Lord. Y'all say Lord. And after that I woke up, and the dream was very understandable and everything, and it brought me to want to do this video to help people that's in that situation, that when they try to tell their family or friends the truth, they get shunned, they get yelled at. And the first thing that came to my mind was this verse right here from the book of Mark, or the Gospel of Mark, chapter 6, verse 4, which says, "And Yahushua said to them, a prophet is not unappreciated except in his own country and among his own relatives and in his own house." All right. And again, I'm coming from the scriptures 2009 from Eastward, which is again very similar to the Hallelujah scriptures. All right. And I'm not saying that I'm a prophet, or I'm not saying that any of y'all are prophets, but when you are telling the truth to your families and friends, you might not be appreciated. All right. Like it says, a prophet is not unappreciated. When you're out and about, away from where you live, away from your family, people will appreciate you. But once you come home, talk to your family members and your friends, they might not appreciate you. So why would Yahushua say these things? So we go over to Matthew chapter 13, verses 53 through 57. All right. And it goes as follows. "And it came to be, when Yahushua had ended these parables, that he left there, and when he had come to his own country, he taught them in their congregation, so that they were astonished, and said, Where did this one get this wisdom and miracles? Is this not the son of the carpenter? Is not his mother called Miriam? And his brothers Jacob and Joseph and Shimon and Yehuda? And his sisters, are they not all with us? Where then did this one get all this? And they stumbled at him. But Yahushua said to them, a prophet is not unappreciated except in his own country and in his own house. All right, so right here, you know, when you were in your hometown, maybe you had, maybe you had kind of a checkered past, or you was a different type of person. And when you come with this truth or with this type of enlightenment, they will most likely shun you, because there will be more likely saying, who do this person think they are? Didn't they used to do this? Didn't they used to do that? I know this person, so how did this person get to know these things? So, but let me go in a little bit more in depth in this story of Yahushua teaching in his hometown. Now I'm going to go over to Luke chapter 4 verses 16 through 30, and this gives a better detailed version of what I just read, and you will get a better understanding of why when you tell the truth you will be unappreciated or not accepted in your own home, in your own town, or with your own family. Alright, starting with verse 16. And he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up, and according to his practice he went into the congregation on the Sabbath day, and stood up to read. And the scroll of the prophet Yeshayahu, which is Isaiah, was handed to him. And having unrolled the scroll, he found the place where it was written, the Spirit of Yahuwah is upon me, because he has anointed me to bring the good news to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to proclaim release to the captives and recovery of sight to the blind, to send away crushed ones with a release, to proclaim the acceptable year of Yahuwah. And having rolled up the scroll, he gave it back to the attendant and sat down. And the eyes of all in the congregation were fixed upon him. And he began to say to them, today this scripture has been filled in your hearing. And all were bearing witness to him, and marveled at the pleasant words that came out of his mouth. And they said, is this not the son of Joseph? And he said to them, this is what Yahushua said, no doubt you shall say this proverb to me, physician, heal yourself. Whatever we have heard being done in Capernaum, do also here in your country. And he said, truly I say to you, no prophet is accepted in his own country. But truly I say to you, many widows were in Israel in the days of Eliyahu, which is Elijah, when the great heaven was shut up for 3 years and 6 months, and there was a great scarcity of food in all the land. And Eliyahu was sent to none of them, but to Sarphath of Sidon, to a woman, a widow. And many lepers were in Israel in the time of Elisha, the prophet, and none of them was cleansed except Naaman the Aramean. And all those in the congregation, when they heard this, were filled with wrath. And rising up, they drove him out of the city, and brought him to the brow of the hill, on which their city was built, in order to throw him down. But he, Yahushua, passing through the midst of them, went away. Alright, so this is a deeper explanation of what went on in Yahushua time, and why he would say a prophet is not accepted in his hometown, by his family, in his own country. All right, and he even gave them an explanation with uh, the prophets Elijah and Elisha. All right, and you know, sometimes when you're giving the truth, people will cast you down, will want to throw you down, not literally, but with their tongue. You know, they would not want to hear it. You know, they do not understand, where did you get this from? You know, what makes you so right? And that's what they would think. All right, so this is a better understanding of what Yahushua went through when he went into his own town, because people knew him and people knew his family, and they just wonder how he get this knowledge, how he get this authority to be able to tell them these things. All right. Now, in Mark 7:6-9, it tells you why they do this, why they shun you. It tells you why people will, in your own town, your own country, your own home, and your own family, and your friends, will rebuke you. All right. And it says, and he answering said to them, well did Yeshayahu prophesy concerning you hypocrites, as it has been written, this people respect me with their lips, but their heart is far from me, and in vain do they worship me, teaching as teachings the commands of men, forsaking the command of Elohim, and hold fast the tradition of men. And he said to them, well do you set aside the command of Elohim in order to guard your own tradition. So, and a lot of family and friends, they believe that they're worshiping the Most High, and they are worshiping him in vain, because what they're calling him God, and they're calling him Lord, and they're doing things like Christmas and Easter and Halloween and things like that. They're not honoring the Shabbat. They're honoring the pagan Sabbath that was instituted by Rome, by the Catholic Church, that was never instituted in the scriptures. And they will rebuke you so they can guard their own tradition. And now if we go over to 2 Timothy 4 verses 3-4, it says a similar thing. And this is the main reason why they will guard their traditions and not the truth. All right. For there shall be a time when they shall not bear sound teaching, but according to their own desires they shall heap up for themselves teachers tickling the ear, and they shall indeed turn their ears away from the truth and be turned aside to myths. So you have to understand that a lot of your family and friends, people where you from, you know, they, you know, been caught up in this Christianity thing, which tells you the law is done away with, but yet you still pay tithes. You know, they want to go to church on Sundays instead of resting on the Shabbat. They want to still celebrate Christmas, even though it's pagan, and Easter, which is pagan, Valentine's Day, which is pagan. They refuse to do the holy days. You know, they believe that they can sin whenever they can just ask for forgiveness, and they will defend their cause because they don't want to hear the truth. They're so used to doing what they're doing that they don't want to change from what they're used to, which I understand, because it was hard for me to change from what I was used to. But my ears was open enough to take in the truth and research and study. A lot of them would not research and study it. Instead of researching and studying it, they would turn you away. All right, they are comfortable in where they at. They say they, you know, want worship the Most High, but in all actuality, they really don't, because they're comfortable in their state. So what does the Messiah say to do about this? Now we go to Matthew chapter 10 verses 11 through 14, and it says, and into whatever city or village you enter, ask who is worthy in it, and stay there until you leave. And as you enter into a house, greet it. And if the house is worthy, let your peace come upon it. But if it is not worthy, let your peace return to you. And whoever does not receive you, nor hear your words, when you leave that house or city, shake off the dust from your feet. Alright, people, so when your family or friends or whoever you're talking to does not listen to you when they rebuke you, do not take it to heart. Do not get angry. You know, it happened to the Messiah. It happens to happened to the prophets. It happened to a lot of people trying to tell the truth. All right, so people, do not take it to heart. I know a lot of people that just came into the truth. They struggle with this part, the part of being rebuked and being alone and being hurt because won't nobody listen to them, and becoming isolated because of what you believe. But the Messiah says, shake the dust from your feet. Do not take it to heart. Do not be hurt by it. Do not be wounded by it. You just move on to the next, because everybody is not going to believe you. And I know it hurts the most when it's your family and friends. But, you know, that's how it is, especially in today's world where Christianity is prominent. You know, I'm talking about Catholic and the Protestant, because basically y'all one. They two divisions, but really one. You know, and you know, like again, they're comfortable in where they at. They do not want to conform. They do not really want to really search the scriptures like they claim they do. They all about health and wealth. You know what I'm saying? Say it and claim it. Having some type of Holy Ghost where you're vibrating and shaking and having convulsions. You know, that's what they're used to. They're not used to the true unadulterated word. They're used to this watered down word, and this has come from, you know, slavery times. That this is how the word was presented to us. But when you give it to them purely and straightly, where they cannot refuse what you're saying, they just, no, they can't refuse in their mind, but they will refuse you in your face. But you know, I have people tell me that they see what I'm saying, but they're comfortable where they at. So just, you can't be disheartened. You know what I'm saying? You just keep doing what you're doing and stay strong. Don't fall off. Everybody's not gonna listen. All right. So I hope that this video helped people out with this certain situation that most of us go through, and understand that, you know, the Messiah went through it too. Alright, because you remember that they hated him first. So don't fret, because they hated the Messiah first. This world hated the Messiah first. So everybody stay strong in the Most High. Keep the faith. Stay in the walk. Birekoth Shalum.